Hello and welcome back to TGTV, and more specifically, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second intro. I just screwed up the first one. You will notice that I have two guests with me right here. On my right hand side, we've got Charlie Groom from the London Watch Show, and on my left here, we've got Stephen Sulley from the Stephen Sulley Study, whose podcast you may well have been listening to already, but a very interesting character, and we'll explain why we're here at Woodbury House in this amazing venue. So today we're going to be talking about watches, shock horror, and we're also going to be having a little chat about art, because I don't know anything about art.
Okay.
And you presumably have a gallery, so you know what you're doing.
We do.
And in particular, street art.
Yep.
This is a new area for me and something that I might have a little flutter in at some point. So, first off the bat then, London Watch Show. We've got some London Watch Show bits and bobs here. You will have seen it on my Instagram, banded around recently. I went and visited the premises recently. It's the Marriott on Park Lane.
Yep.
That's going to be the venue. The 18th and 19th of September.
Yep.
So talk us through the event then. What's going on? What's happening? What can we expect? I'm going to be there, so if you want to avoid me, sorry about that. Go on.
Well, basically the event is the first ever of its kind. We've got a wide array of exhibitors coming, mainly surrounding the watch industry. So we've got around about 50 to, I think between 50 and 60 individual exhibitors that are just going to be showcasing all their watches. So these will be some of the biggest companies in the UK and even on the globe, really. They'll be bringing their company and obviously displaying all their watches. We've got car companies, we've got interior design companies, we've got bespoke safes, luxury travel agents, we've got investment companies such as Steve with Woodbury House, art, obviously investment. We've also got an after party which is hosted by Soultown. That's going to be pretty special.
Nice. Live
music throughout the entire weekend.
Perfect.
Loads of food and drink. So yeah, it's just going to be a general weekend for people to come, have a look. If they want to spend some money, then it's going to be no better place for them to do so.
I'm excited. I'll try and leave my car at home.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for that. And there's actually going to be an opportunity to win VIP tickets. That's going to be over on Instagram. It's going to be a nice, easy affair. All you're going to have to do is follow the London Watch Show on Instagram, and there's 2 VIP tickets in that box right there, being closely guarded by a Richard Mille and a very special Kermit. So we're going to get onto that very shortly as well. Stephen, explain to us what you do. What is it you kind of particularly work with? You know, artist-wise, art-wise, you know, give the viewers a little bit of background, because this is the first time I've ever dabbled in any kind of art stuff at all, and explain where we are.
So, I founded a brand back in 2014 called Woodbury House. This is where we are right now. I know people refer to it as a gallery, and we do feel like a gallery, but we're actually...
I think I called it a gallery, sorry about that.
We are a private...
It feels like a gallery to me.
Yeah, we are a private art studio. We're actually the key advisor to the Richard Hamilton Archive and Foundation, which is a corporate entity that sits behind the actual artist and his kind of intellectual property. And basically we found ourselves in this space, not literally this space, but the art space just by chance. The long and short of it is street art as a genre is booming. It's probably the biggest movement since pop art, which Andy Warhol founded. Obviously some of his pieces are going for hundreds of millions of dollars. I would say at the forefront of auctions, at the forefront of the media, at the forefront of maybe social media, you've got people like Banksy, which are setting big records and doing some very, very interesting art with a lot of meaning. But the person I represent, and also are the key advisor for the archive and also the foundation, is a guy called Richard Hamilton. So in short, 3 people started the movement back in the 70s and 80s, which is known as the genre of street art, which is kind of dovetailed into contemporary street art now. The 3 people being Jean-Michel Basquiat, Keith Haring and Richard Hamilton. Sadly, 2 of them died premature due to lifestyle and age and things like that. The last surviving member was Richard Hamilton up until 2017. Sadly, in 2017 he passed away, but as we well know, sometimes the best career moving artists can make is when they pop their clogs and pass away. Ever since then, the market's gone crazy. We've had collectors, fanatics, investors all looking to stockpile Hamilton in some kind of way, and this has led us to basically, you know, doing some very good shows at the Saatchi Gallery last year. We've done shows around the world, including Mexico City, Dubai. And kindly, you plugged my Stephen Sulley Study, which is a podcast, which when I first started that 3 years ago, I wanted to interview entrepreneurs because I was filling a void for myself. I wasn't very clever at school. Didn't really resonate with school too much, and I wanted to give back to a younger audience by interviewing entrepreneurs to give people a bit of inspiration, education, and motivation to follow some kind of career path. But what that's led me on to do is to interview key artists who are affiliated to contemporary street art, Hambleton specifically, and also anyone in and around the ecosystem. Yeah. So that's basically who I am, what I do, and what the brand is all about. And I've got to say, the London Watch Show coming up in September, I'm absolutely pumped, and I don't say that lightly, to be presenting there, and also to be mingling with, probably high net worth people, interesting people, and people that are definitely go-getters and driven individuals.
Absolutely, there's a definite kind of crossover between if you're into cars, you're probably into watches. If you're into watches, you're probably into art. If you're into art, you're probably into your high-end property, your yachts, your jets. They kind of all mix together, and predominantly it is blokes with disposable income. I mean, that's generalising massively. No one's going to tell me off. No women watch this channel, so it's fine.
It's true, isn't it? Really, I mean, for me, it was quite a surprise that there isn't anything else like that, really. I mean, not that of my knowledge.
I was amazed when we got in touch ages and ages ago, and obviously you were meant to host this event last year.
No, it was originally 2020, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously that got ruined along with everything else. But I was amazed. I was like, surely someone's already doing this. Surely it's already a thing. Because you've got the London Motor Show, you've got there's loads of different car ones, you've got the London Classic Car Show, it means loads of little ones all over the place, but no one's actually doing it. So I was like, I've got to get involved in this. This is wicked.
Yeah, it was very surprising, but yeah, I mean, it's blown up to a certain degree. Obviously, it's matured into more of a luxurious show now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't wait to get the wheels in motion and get the first one wrapped up, and then obviously we can start looking forward to bigger and better things, really.
Right. Should we start talking about the values of things and money and different brands and how things have kind of panned out over the past couple of years for you guys, and your top tips for the guys at home, because you've been into kind of trading watches for years.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
And also we get some tips from you in terms of art. What should people be looking for? If you're new to it like me, it's advice that I'm even going to listen to and take forward. So let's start with watches then. You've been trading for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Past few years, how have you found it's gone? What brands do you think have done particularly well? What brands do you think we should be looking at going forward? Perhaps things slightly out of the sphere. Are there any things that you should be keeping an eye on? What are your top tips? Don't worry, this isn't investment advice, so the SDL aren't going to get you, but
For me, I'm a fairly straightforward person, so I would say stick to what you know, stick to the most likely in-your-face brands like
your blue chips.
Patek Philippe, Richard Mille and Rolex, and obviously AP. But yeah, I mean, Richard Mille, like I explained to you guys the other day, the past 6 months has just been crazy. I mean, Richard Mille as a whole has always grown. I mean, an RM10 rose gold you could pick up for probably 25, 30k, and now they're 125k. That was probably 7-8 years ago. So
I remember those days.
Yeah, the growth is crazy. You've got one on yourself, so.
I've got. I mean, sadly, I didn't spend sort of 10 grand on it or whatever it probably was back then. But talk us through this one. We'll put some B-roll on the screen of what you brought this along. I'm actually worried even holding it. So what have we got there?
This is an RM6702. It's called the High Jump.
Yep.
And it's after a guy called Mutaz SR Mershim, I believe. That's going to be wrong. I think.
I've seen it written down, but I wouldn't know how to go for it. But
the 6702s, they're all named after athletes.
Yeah.
But this is the High Jump, so it's the flat face, NTPT. But yes, I mean, it's a different type of RM for sure. I mean, it's so thin, so light, but
feels like a packet of crisps. There's nothing to it.
Well, I thought I'd bring this one just to have a little look at, because it's something different, you know?
I was going to add actually to that, me being a dinosaur in comparison to you guys, I'm 35 years of age, which sounds a bit crazy, but...
Yeah, you're at least 10 years older than me.
When I was younger, I mean, this is very naive of me saying this, but I think everyone can resonate with this. You would almost value the watch based upon how heavy it was. So like when I had my old bosses who used to run the companies, I'd go, oh, let me try on your watch. Oh, look how heavy it is. Now you pick that up and you wouldn't even know you got it on your wrist.
Crazy. It is crazy.
It's gone completely opposite direction.
I've heard stories of people actually having RMs on their wrist and being out, doing their business throughout the day, and they've actually panicked and thought, where is my watch? But it's still on their wrist because it's so light, you don't even notice it.
I'm not surprised. That thing's mental. It looks and feels like it should have come out of a cracker.
It's crazy, isn't it?
That's one of my favourite pieces from RM ever.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm not quite there yet. So talk us through some numbers then. Retail price, what it was a year ago and what they are now.
I mean, for me to retail this watch, we're in the grey market, you're looking at around about £240.
£240,000.
£240,000, yeah. I'm not exactly sure what the actual retail from Richard Mille is.
It's a very grey area in itself.
It's a grey area, yeah.
It's whatever they feel like.
I imagine it's probably around the 100k mark, if anything.
Not bad.
So, yeah.
Not bad so obviously, if you bought that new and you're now flipping it today, you've got sort of 120 odd in there margin.
Yeah.
No capital gains tax on watches. Is there capital gains tax on art?
There is, and just as a bit of a disclaimer, I can't give obviously tax advice or financial advice, but what a lot of our very successful clients do is set up special purpose vehicles, which are limited companies, to buy and sell their art all the time. That's quite common.
Okay.
Or if they, are residents in different countries, or they have, they're married and they want to offset their tax by using their wife's name, that's typically what they do.
Okay, cool. So none of that fun yet in watches. Or cars, unless they're single-seater racing cars, apparently.
Really?
Yeah, road cars, you're all good. Jobs are good until HMRC find out people are making God knows what on LAFs and McLaren F1s.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's, is that one for your personal collection? Do you wear that around? Have you got the balls to wear that? Would you wear that about? Or is it just a bit too punchy?
No, I mean, obviously, this is not from our personal collection. This is just one of the watches that we've got in stock. But yeah, I personally wouldn't wear this watch out and about, It's a hell of a lot of money, and if anything's to go wrong, it's...
And if you knock those,
the
you can get yourself in a lot of trouble very quickly. How much would you say the new case would be?
I wouldn't even like to say, but it's tens of thousands.
You're talking about if you have a chip on one of those, yeah?
Yeah.
So unlike a stainless steel where they can sort of smooth it down.
Any metal, basically, they can repair, can't they? To a certain degree.
Yeah,
but obviously NTPT, it's
that's
a
RM
type of plastic, isn't it?
So, fancy carbon plastic stuff.
Yeah, plastic carbon. Yeah.
You can actually buy in slabs from China.
You can buy in slabs
for nothing.
Yeah,
so
you can.
I
actually know people that have actually bought the slabs.
Yep.
Actually made the moulds of the watch, and then they're called prototypes.
I've seen someone doing it with. I actually can't really say because it's
aftermarket prototypes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't. Yeah. People aren't allowed to do it, but they are in the market. They are.
But if you chip one of them, you take it to RM, they say, yeah, that'll be 3 months and 40 grand, please, sir. Or you can get some matey who's making the same thing.
Yeah.
Out of the same material.
I think the trickiest thing which people find is obviously it's actually cutting the material.
Yeah.
Really tough to cut. When there's a will, there's a way, I should imagine, and people always do manage
and there's
to
enough
find
margin in it when the alternative is 40 grand, so absolutely mental. So you think the RM market bubble continue to rise?
Everyone always says that about the RM market, whether it's a bubble or not. And I mean, again, you've got to look at past track history. Don't get me wrong, they have really dramatically increased in price. I'd be an idiot if I didn't say that. But do I think they're going to continue to go? I do, yeah. I think they'll have a correction like they're going through at the moment, but I do think with time, because the good thing with RM, certain types of models, is there is only a limited amount of them made.
Yeah.
So some of them may only be 5 pieces, some might be 50 pieces, some might be 80 pieces. But the fact of the matter is, if there's 80 pieces of one particular watch, and 80 people own that watch, and one person decides to sell it, and it sells for X amount, the watch is now worth that money.
Yep, market making.
Very similar to art in that aspect,
Absolutely.
And this is why I would say RM for me, it's got that little bit more prestigious market than just a normal run-in-the-mill watch, because Rolex produce thousands and thousands of watches a year. Patek, more like a few thousand. But then RM is probably a lot less.
RM, the last time I looked, it was about 5,000. I think the Patek were doing sort of 30-odd thousand, something like that, even of the sports stuff.
Yeah.
And Rolex, I think they're almost nudging millions. I mean, they are churning.
They're churning them out.
But then I guess the demand's proportionate to the supply.
You can't buy Daytona.
So you can't. Everyone wants a Rolex.
Yeah.
less people want a Patek and like even less want RM. So I guess it's all in line
I
with.
think this is, if my memory serves me right, myself and one of my older business affiliates, we went to Geneva to the Patek boutique store, the museum, and also their factory, and we got to walk around it. We was there for 2 days. It was really cool. Flew us on a private jet, all that kind of stuff. Really cool stuff. And I think they were making at that point 56,375 watches every single year, Patek. And then I said, well, how's that compared to Rolex? And I think they said 13 million.
Nothing surprises me.
And that basically, and they're both very good watches, don't get me wrong. And if you ended up with a 50 grand Rolex, you're doing well in your life. But then it just made me think, wow, like to own a Patek of a certain brand, certain model as well, it's quite a privilege.
Yeah,
definitely.
Tell you that, I mean, how many pieces are that limited to? The RM stuff. They're usually kind of less than 50 pieces, most of them, or 100 pieces.
I mean, this one's probably a little bit more than that. It's got 407. I don't know exactly.
Bloody hell.
But, I mean, it all depends on, on the different model and stuff. But, like I say, even if there's only 1,000 of them, there's only 1,000 in circulation. So, I think that's why RM, it does rocket in price. We had a 3501. And
that's the Nadal.
Yeah, the Nadal. And that was obviously the NCPT. But that at one point you couldn't get them watches. We was the only one with one in the UK, but now all of a sudden there's like 5, I think, in the UK.
Really?
So the prices dramatically dropped.
I remember they're up to what, 300, 350?
Yeah, they got to the 350 mark. No, the O2, the red one, that was a little bit more than that. But yeah, I mean, listen, it's horses for courses really to a certain degree.
When you're batting around at that kind of level, you're looking at the footballers, you're looking at the sheikhs, and for them, the price is just a number on a screen.
Exactly.
And if it means someone else not getting it and them having it, they don't care. It was another 50, 100, they're not bothered. I think you're swimming in a different pool there.
Oh, massively.
Whereas the money is just an admin. It's just it's a number they need to WhatsApp to someone to transfer. It doesn't mean anything at all.
What I will say though is, and I do believe, I think the number one collector's watch alongside Rolex is Patek. I don't really think there's many people that collect watches that collect RMs. I think RMs are for, you're in your face, got a Richard Mille.
What are you trying to say? I want your honest opinion, actually. I want your honest opinion, because we were talking about this earlier offline. I had the original RM11 Rose Gold Le Mans thing, which I paid 46 grand for years and years ago, 2015, 2016. We were actually probably talking around that point. I had a G-Wagon and that. No one knew what it was. And you were saying, was it one of your business partners or someone you knew? He bought a Bubba early doors, and everyone said, you moron, what are you doing? For sort of 60 odd grand. And there was this air about Richard Mille back then, where Frank Muller had gone down the tubes, Hublot were just shocking. And there was another brand, Lind Wordlin, they're kind of tanked as well. And everyone was like, well, RM could be next. 46 grand on a watch back then was, it's still a hell of a lot, but back then it was a bit more of a kind of, what are you up to kind of thing.
That's the thing though, even if you look at that as a prime example really, how long ago was that?
2016.
2016, so yeah, 5 years. In 5 years, that watch is now market value 1101 Rose Gold. It's well worth over 150k.
I last saw the last one on Chrono 24 for 220.
There you go.
There isn't a day that goes by I don't think about it.
Chrono 24 is a hard one, isn't it?
The
prices are like, one will be 220, the other one will be 180.
I will pick the prices on there if it suits me.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, I'll say Chrono's a load of rubbish. So yeah, bonkers. Be honest then, what do you make of that?
Do you know what? When you told me about it originally, I was like,
You bought a turd.
Now I've seen it, I think it looks better on the wrist, definitely.
Even on my little girly wrist.
I think it looks better on the wrist.
Bit too punchy for London. I must admit something to the audience here. I drove here today not wearing this. This was in the footwell of my car. I drove here in the Hurricane and I didn't have the balls just to drive here with it on my wrist.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to get machete through the window. Do you think that's going to soften the watch market?
Again, it's a hard question to answer. At the moment, I'd say no, because watch robberies have been going on for quite a while now, haven't they?
Yeah.
They are only getting worse, but watches are still selling. The prices are still going up, so it means obviously there's a shortage in supply. Demand is still increasing. The prices are increasing. So at the moment, I'd probably say no. But yeah, it's definitely a problem that needs to be resolved massively.
Sadiq's too interested in congestion charge and number plate issues on cars.
Yeah.
Crime-wise, then, with art, is that something that factors into things? Has there been a surge in crime in art? Like, are people constantly getting robbed? I suspect most of these are in kind of, secure storage facilities. So I guess it's probably less of an issue, unless it's something people have to build in.
Well, I mean, we've got hundreds of original works under management. We've got a vast array of clients. I would say most of them are investors. Some of them are investors, collectors, and what that means is they want to make money from it, they want to preserve their money in it, but they also want to enjoy it if they're an investor collector. But some of them, a lot of them on our books are purely numbers driven. Yeah. How much can I potentially make? How safe is it? And how quickly can I see that return? They look at that, kind of the numbers and the case studies, and then they make a decision. Going back to your question, so a lot of them keep the artwork in bond. So we've got a bonded facility in Zurich, in a Freeport over there.
Freeport, yeah, we love all that.
And then we also got one in Bermondsey, and then we also have our, let's say, private studio, private gallery, showroom here in the heart of Soho, and obviously it's pretty secure. We've got cameras, etc. As far as crime's concerned, this is not the same type of crime, but it's different, and obviously something we don't get involved with, but it's something that definitely goes on in the art market, is money laundering. It happens all around the world.
I mean, I think that's got a lot to answer for the prices of RM, and they're like kind of bearer bonds, aren't they?
That's probably the biggest thorn in the side for like HMRC or any kind of tax authority, because, art is a great place to store your money and kind of get rid of it. I mean, we've had, conversations have come up before where people are getting divorced and they want to hide a bit of money in art, and that happens. But as far as robberies are concerned, you spoke about this watch here being 200, 300 grand, 400 grand, whatever it may be. It's far easier to go over to someone, intimidate them, take that watch off of them and run away. If you were to try and take this piece of art here, which is, pushing 700, 800 grand now, be very, very difficult for them to under the radar, come in here, take that out.
I guess resale's harder as well, It's
very, very difficult. So that it doesn't.
It's a good point that with the resale, even that's changed over the years. It used to be a point of if you was to, the people that used to try and sell stolen watches, they'd be getting offered so minimal that it'd almost be like pointless. Now, people get offered not far from what you pay for it normally anyway. It's crazy.
Because the demand's so high and the supply's so low.
They know they can sell it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Absolutely wrong. Because interesting as well what you were saying about the investor collector thing. That's a term in the art world, but in the watch world, you can't really be. If you're seen to just invest in watches, you're kind of almost abused by the online kind of watch fraternity. If you're buying to be fair with cars as well, if you're buying a car just to kind of stick in a garage and hopefully it goes up and polish it every now and again, people go for you. And there is that with watches as well. Watches are meant to be worn, scratch them up, do whatever. But in the art world, it's perfectly acceptable to say, I'm just an investor. Well, but you can also do that.
I mean, there's still very much a community which is art. You shouldn't profit off an artist. You shouldn't profit off their market. We saw it after Hamilton passed away. Immediately within the first few weeks, the first few months, you guys are exploiting his market. You shouldn't be doing that. But then at the same time, I just finished a course along with my business partner, Joe Bannon, who you met earlier.
Yeah.
We done a sub-of-this course over 6 weeks, and it's art and finance. And it's basically to do with the investment side of art. So even the biggest institutes, the biggest corporations, the biggest auction houses in the world, which are multi-billion-dollar companies, they recognise that antiques, art, collectibles, passion assets, art, which I think I already just said, is in very much like an investment sector and an area. So you do get occasionally people saying you shouldn't profit from it, but everybody knows that there is a huge amount of money to make if you buy into the right artists, including Hamilton.
Absolutely, the kind of people that have got the money to throw around on these things know that alternative asset classes, there is some smart money in there. So very interesting. We're talking more about passion assets on your podcast.
Yeah,
and it's all filmed and stuff. So you want to go more into that stuff, make sure you go and check it out. I'll go and leave all the links below. So whilst we're here then, before we wrap things up, I've got a wide range. I don't know if you've seen what's in my collection. I want to ask your opinion on some of the brands and some of the watches I'm invested in. You don't have to be nice, because they're not, in the comments. So I've got 3 Girard Perregaux skeletons in my collection. I've got an all black ceramic, I've got an all steel, and an all rose gold.
Wow.
If I turned up to you, I turned up and I said, I've got these 3 watches, and would you buy these in for stock? What's your thoughts on the brand? I love them, but I'm interested. If someone's just been trading, I mean, I think I know what you're going to say.
What do you think I'm going to say?
You know, you're a Patek guy, you're a Rolex guy. You know, you don't veer off the beaten track.
I don't veer off, and I do know a lot of traders in the industry that do really love those watches. You know?
Yeah.
And I have seen some of them, and I've had some of them in my hands, and I think, yeah, no, they're a nice watch. But for me, especially being in the actual industry as a business,
Yes.
I don't really pay too much attention to them.
Fine.
Because for me, obviously, when I look at watches, I'm thinking about the revenue side.
The
of
upside,
things,
yeah, 100%.
and what I can do with them. But I have seen some nice ones. Well, I'm not into all black watches though.
No, I wasn't, but then I thought I can get an in-house skeleton, full ceramic, for the price of a Bogo steel Rolex, whatever it is, and it's a 30-odd grand retail watch that I can actually wear around the place.
Yeah.
No one's really going to clock what it is
It's
and
just
really
in
care
general.
about it.
I had an AP not too long ago, and that was full black ceramic, and I just don't know. It don't really do it for me. I like the more traditional look.
Bit of a shine, bit of
yeah, but just all black. I mean, yeah, it's not just something I think is personal preference really. But
Absolutely.
what other ones have you got?
I've got
Give me something that I know.
FB Jaune Elegante, the little quartz one. Do you know that one?
No, it's getting
Elegante
worse.
48.
God, you might be speaking in Chinese.
It's getting worse.
Yeah.
It's getting worse.
FB Jaune. You know the brand? FB Jaune. No.
No.
Forget it then.
You've lost me. You've lost me.
I'll talk some numbers then.
Yeah.
So retail was 9.5.
Yeah.
I bought mine for 10 last March.
Yeah.
They're now being thrown around between 30 and 50, depending
Really?
where you're looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you're interested. You're going to be looking them up now, aren't you? No, it's a snotter. Yeah. So FB Jaune, they make about I can't remember the exact numbers now. I think it's about 1,500 watches a year.
Oh really?
Yeah. So really kind of few. I went into the Geneva boutique last year and I said, can I have one? And they kind of laughed at me. They're like, look, we get 2 a year. We've got 300 people on the waiting list. Go away, kind of thing.
You
so
managed to get one then?
I got it off Grey Market Dealer.
Yeah.
I bought it in Beaconsfield Services last March.
Yeah, I have to be honest. In certain markets, I just haven't got a clue.
No, it's fair enough.
I know my market.
And if you're making money out of that market, why dabble out?
My market, so
because you get stuck with watches as well. You can have a dabble and then get stuck.
Yeah.
What else have I got? I've got a Laurent Ferrier Rasport Tourbillon, 1 of 12. Any clues?
I haven't got a clue what you're
I
talking
should have brought. Do you know what? Next time we meet up, I'm going to bring some of these in, and you can look at them and just think, "What on earth are you playing
I
at?"
haven't got a clue what you're
No,
talking
fair
about.
enough.
Yeah.
And that's a brand they make about 150 watches a year.
Oh really?
The guy, he was creative director at Patek for 30 years. He raced with Paul Newman in Le Mans, and I've got the Le Mans anniversary one. It's got normal looking watch and a rubber strap. It's got tourbillon in the back. I'll bring it next time. You'll probably quite like
Nice,
it. Yeah. It's really under the radar. It literally, if you don't know what you're looking at, could be Michael Kors. But again,
What's the value on that?
retail is 185,000
Wow.
US. Yeah.
Really?
So 160 odd GBP.
Really? Yeah.
But I bought it
These
for.
are big watches that you're talking about. So
But
I'm
yeah.
surprised. I don't know. It's obviously bad.
I paid 70 odd for it,
Oh wow.
and then I lost it.
How?
Claimed on insurance, found it, and I've just had to pay the insurance coming back, having spent all the money.
Oh dear.
Don't do that. Yeah. Don't do
Where
that.
was it?
It was in a shoe, in one of my girlfriend's shoes. We'd looked through the car, but it obviously had fallen into one of these shoes,
Yeah.
and it was in one of the
I bet
cupboards.
you were kicking yourself.
God only knows. Yeah, I was sweating though because I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And I don't believe, I've never claimed an insurance before, so I don't believe it's really ever going to work. I just thought, I'm going to claim, but they're probably just going to say no because
You just got
they're just
paid
going to think
out,
I'm a
that's
tit.
good.
Yeah. So
Bit of
fair
confidence
play
in
to
them,
them.
yeah.
First point, if you're watching, thank you very much for that. I think we're going to leave it there then,
Yeah.
before I baffle you with any more
Yeah,
nonsense.
mate. Yeah.
Make sure you come and say hello at the London Watch Show on the 8th. We didn't actually talk about the Kermit. I'm just going to talk about this one very quickly before we go.
Yep.
This is a very special Kermit.
Yes.
50th anniversary Submariner, and this has got the Oman crest on the back.
Yeah, that's right.
Very, very rare piece. Is this up for sale at the point at which you're speaking?
Yeah, it's literally up for. It's on an auction now, so it's live. And yes, it's flying up now.
Very
so
rare piece.
that's good.
They'd have told me off if I didn't mention that. So London Watch Show then, 18th and 19th of September. It's on Park Lane at the Marriott Grosvenor House.
Grows in the House, yeah.
Grows in the House. Tickets are now live. The links will be below. And if you want to win some VIP tickets, then head over to my Instagram and the London Watch Show Instagram, because all details by the point this video goes out will be live on there. A big shout to Stephen Sulley here. Thank you very much for your hospitality. And there's a more in-depth look at passion assets over on his podcast. I would recommend that to all of you to go and listen to. It's a new area for me and I'm absolutely fascinated by it. So I'm going to be tuning into some of that as well. Cheers, mate. Much appreciated. Cheers, Charlie.
Top man, mate. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys, for watching. See you soon.